Chris is going to be talking about aeration and circulation, just a general overview on that. And I'm going to turn the mic back over to Chris.
Thanks, sir. All right, now you got it. We're going to shift gears. You can hear me again for another. Obviously, I don't have a problem talking about this. So Bill had asked to do two presentations. Nutrient inactivation, we could easily go right back into it and keep discussing it. It's pretty complex. All these technologies we use in lakes definitely can be spoken about one topic for multiple hours. But now we're going to move into just aeration. We had go over aeration. I said to Bill, I said, look, well, let's use aeration because in terms of using alum and using some of PAC and some of these older technologies of nutrient activation, movement of water helps, get the product working better, getting the flock moving and things like that. It's not a settling tank like you have in a wastewater treatment plant, but moving water helps. As well as now with this new technology, unlike Foslac or the Utrisorb G where it's more granular, we're going to be talking about trying to move this product across the lake if it's getting caught. Sometimes you'll have coves that don't really interchange with the lake system, or you'll have windblown shorelines that are constantly just pressured by literally wind pressure, right? Not being able to integrate and move in the system. Or you have internal running. Some people are like, oh, my lake is flowing up, up towards the inflow. No, it's not. That's just the surface wind going that way. Underneath, everything is still going in that direction towards the outflow, typically. So we're just going to do a real quick kind of overview of what type of aerations there are. So most people speak about aeration. We talk about fountains, circulators, and aeration, diffused aeration, And the reason why you put these systems in place in either ponds or in lakes, you're always trying to get water movement, and you're trying to increase your dissolved oxygen level in your lake system. More oxygen increases aerobic activity, it increases chewing up of the organics on the bottom by the bacteria. Typically what happens on a lake system is the bottom becomes anoxic, or there's no oxygen down there, so your decomposition process slows or decreases or comes to zero. And then you also, with that situation, there's a chemical reaction where the phosphorus gets released. That's bound up in the sediment. It starts getting released off the bottom of the lake, and it literally gets flecked up into the water column. And the algae that's sitting there waiting starts eating it, and then all of a sudden your bloom starts to occur. And that's why a lot of times we see planktonic blooms. You really hardly see this planktonic bloom early in the season. It's usually when the lake is pretty much stagnant, waters have slowed down, and the temperatures have you got really warm temperatures up top, and then you might have a thermocline, and then you're not getting any interchange in oxygen on the bottom. So we're trying to move water and add oxygen. The other is also from pest management. You start to get I get a lot of calls about people talking about mosquitoes. What can we do about that in like a cove area or what have you? Move that water. The other issue is with fecal coliform in beach areas that fail from geese. We've had a system in Lake Parsippany for years, probably 20 years, where the Lake Parsippany used to fail like clockwork. Not just they had bad algal blooms back in the 90s and before that, but they used to fail constantly for fecal coliform issues. We incorporated circulators, and what you're basically doing is just drawing mid-lake water out in the open and pushing it, and you're flushing your beach area so that you can get this fecal coliform out of the swim area, so you can pass your swimming tests. Not just fecal coliform, it's total. Sorry. And then also improve fisheries. If we can have oxygen through the column, we're gonna have a much better balanced system. So in this image, you're seeing a lake that basically becomes stagnant. This is a pond, obviously, but the idea is what we're trying to do is get movement, okay, through the system. Get the colder waters up, the warmer waters down, mixing. You get them mixing. Those at Culver's Lake, they mix, yes.
This doesn't really do anything for a lake that has an inflow and an outflow, does it? Because basically you're getting churning through the water anyway.
The answer is no. Yeah, it does help. Okay. Even every lake pretty much has an inflow and outflow. Okay. Either it's groundwater or you have
We're
straight.
getting our feed from Swannanoa, and then our outflow is the Rockaway River.
Okay, so you're in Longwood. Oh no, you're where are you, Cozy? You're in Longwood. Okay. So that's like a river system. Okay. So that system in the spring, in the July, in June slows down. July and August, you stand at the dam at Lakewood, at Longwood, and there's no water going over.
Yeah,
It's dry. So that goes through, you're not having that in out. So getting circulation and moving it, you're a little different because you're almost a river system.
Yeah.
But like a typical pond is you want to, or lake, you want to start moving waters. Okay. And understanding how these systems work and where you can place them is the important part. And I always get people going, well, I put aerators in and it's going to stop the weeds. Just remember, aeration does nothing to weeds. Nothing. It will not stop aeration. The state of New Jersey incorporated aeration in Lake Apacon in the river Styx. Told the people it's going to kill weeds. If you ever go over river Styx in the mud hole, you got 70 acres of topped out no-flow until we come in and start treating it and give people relief. And they're trying to move water. It does nothing for vegetation, okay, or for rooted vegetation. You can see these diffusers running. You know, these are my images, and it's because I said, I got to tell these people, me just saying something doesn't, you got to see it. It's, okay, this is a typical diffuser system, okay? These are diffuser heads, each pad, okay? And there's going to be a compressor in there that sends out basically compressed air. It runs out through weighted hoses, okay? The air comes out through this membrane. That is a rubber membrane that has tiny holes in it, okay? So as the compressed air runs out, it bubbles up through the water column, okay? And this is your compressor, okay? Usually you have something like this on the shoreline. Inside the box is a compressor. You got these going out. Each one of these legs are diffuser heads. So this unit has 6 of them sitting out in the lake somewhere. Okay. That little mechanism, not that I'm going to get technical, but these things need to breathe. So you'll always have a fan on there, and everybody misses maintaining the fan. So you really have to maintain that or you burn out your units. So I like this image. This is what it really looks like. So that's the type of water movement you see coming through the column. Okay, so you're trying to move this column. So this comes up, it's pushing up the cold water through the warm water, and it's getting a cycling motion like this. Okay, the area of influence is relatively large. I mean, you'll get an influence of movement in about probably this large of an area or bigger if you got wind action on a bigger water body. But typically, a pond action will get movement in this zone, is this room. Okay, so that is the most basic that you see aeration systems put in all the time with diffuser heads. Okay, this is not surface movement. Okay, we're injecting oxygen into the system. You're turning over the water. The bubbles are fairly large bubbles. Okay, and the idea is just to get more oxygen and movement of that water and get some more oxygen down on the bottom and create that habitat for your fisheries and vertebrates and for the ecosystem. I brought, yes.
Quick question. Solar aeration.
Yep.
Good, bad, and different? What's your thoughts?
Good but limited. Good because you're not using electricity. Limited because the technology hasn't been able to give us larger horsepower. So it's good on small ponds. We have a couple of them that we use. They bubble. You have a maintenance issue with the batteries. We just worked on one the other day. It's solar. It's a big panel, so you have obviously aesthetic issues if you want to look at a solar panel. Number two, you got batteries in there, and there's 6. How many batteries do we have in there? 6 or 8?
I think there's 4.
No, definitely more than 4. Okay, so there's like car batteries, just to run a 2 diffuser head. So the box is as big as this, the half of this table to run just the two diffuser heads. You're not using. I like them, but the technology is going to have to, increase and it's happening. Yes.
Is there a downside to aerating?
There is. Yep. So I was going to bring that up, but so is there a downside? Absolutely, 100%. So with these diffuser heads, okay, I've had a lot of clients have diffuser heads. Take a look at this one. See how it's extended off the bottom? Okay. See how low this one is? Closer to the bottom. A lot of them, old school ones, okay, meaning like within the last 10 years, if you purchased one, most likely you have a block, just like the same exact block that you have in fish tanks. They're just these little blocks strapped to a piece of plastic. So when you lay it down, I just spoke with a woman, I forget who she was, but she said, well, yeah, all the way up to here. I said, well, yeah, I mean, what can we deal with that? But, okay. And theoretically, if you can get oxygen down there, you're going to chew up the bottom. A lot of people I call them Google U. Get your degree from Google U. So all of a sudden, like, wait a second, we're going to chew up the bottom. Like, theoretically. But what happens is, when you lay that diffuser head, there's a fluff layer on top of your muck. So that diffuser head starts to do this and starts to settle down in the top of your muck, and then the sediment starts to cascade over the top as that thing's settling in, and you're literally throwing up your sediment, you're throwing up your phosphorus. You might as well just go out there and shake a bag of fertilizer out in the middle of your lake. Okay? So if you can keep those diffuser heads up and off the lake, okay, or a pond, you'll be able to not have that turning over of the lake, of the nutrients. Typically, it's okay to run the system in the springtime, but come like when you really want it, sometimes we've shut it down, like a cup saw. We had to shut it down late in the season because we were starting to bring up the phosphorus up into the column. So we shut it down for a little while, and the algae kind of settled back a little bit. But every lake is a little different. Every lake is like us. I mean, I stand next to you, I look different than you. I mean, people are always saying, well, it's right next door. It's literally 100 feet, 10 feet away. Totally different dynamics, honestly. Each one is totally different. So, you do have to worry about nutrient release getting pushed up, okay? There's a pro and con to everything. So people look at this, they see the diffuser systems, and they're like, oh, what about nanobubbles? This is now a new technology in our industry. Okay? Has anybody heard about nanobubbles? Yeah? Okay, so really, really new. It's not that new in the industrial environment, okay? But what it does is it creates these compressors, okay, generators, create tiny bubbles, okay, that are released into, before I leave here, so it's generated in here and sent out into these straight tubes, okay, and typically they're not a diffuser head, it's just literally like a 2-inch hose going out to the lake. This one's a floating one, okay, and it creates a nanobubble. So what nanobubbles do are, these two are standard bubbles that come out of your diffuser heads, okay? This microbubble, the nanobubbles, okay? Look how many more oxygen bubbles are created that hold in just that one bubble that comes up through the column. So what happens is, a lot of times you're running energy, you're sending bubbles up, and it goes through the column and just pops up at the top of the air. So all your oxygenation, gets released on the surface. It doesn't really, you're getting some of it circulating, but a lot of it gets released. Nanobubbles have almost zero buoyancy. So when you send them into the water column or into the middle of your pond, they don't go up to the top and pop. They'll float through the system. Okay? and they bring oxygen into the into your lake system. Okay, so that's the biggest criteria that helps the nanobubbles. Okay, there's pros and cons to everything too. So watch this. So in these images, you can see it kind of go up. The microbubbles hit the surface like we just showed in the image before. The nanobubbles just do this, and they start floating around. Okay, and they're saying, they say they can float around for about 2 to 3 months. Okay, so this way you can actually sustain oxygen at your bottom water column. Okay, you can have it in there. But there's a major concern. Okay, again, this is technical. Right? These are technical comments I've made. Okay, that's how it's in real life. Things don't work out. Sometimes they happen. One of the concerns that we've had is the nanobubbles create this hydroxyl radical. So it's an oxidizing product. So they use it to clean industrial environments. Okay, clean metals. Okay, so it oxidizes. It has this really good ability to oxidize. Okay, which means basically sanitize. Okay, so the question is, what is it doing to the zooplankton and all these other critters that are floating in the water? I haven't read a paper or seen a presentation that addresses this. And if anybody has, I'd love to know. But
Yeah, there's one actually coming up at NOMS.
Okay.
And that was a topic, a pretty big topic.
Yep.
I haven't gone through the data, but it's definitely something to be looking out for.
Correct. Okay, good. So, and that was a concern. Ken Wagner, I saw a presentation probably about, well, it's pre-COVID, so probably 7 years ago, where they were really pushing this. And Ken Wagner is another consultant in the Northeast, and he and I are sitting together, and I said, well, what about all the little critters? You're absolutely right. This is it's literally like OxyClean is what it's doing, but it's staying in there. You're like, what's going on with those critters? And they go, man, they're just focused on algae. It's going to kill, if it's killing an algal cell, is it killing the good algal cell? Is it killing the zooplankton? What is happening? So, yes, it has this really good ability to kill the algal, okay, and add oxygen, but it also has these secondary effects that are kind of questionable. They're pretty expensive to get up and running, okay. This is actually a paper. If you look up Sarah Pond in Massachusetts, Ken actually he did all the consulting on it. They put a system in there, and it didn't deliver what they were trying to deliver. So in the end, it did send oxygen in there, but it didn't do what it was really supposed to do. So again, this technology is developing. If we can rid ourselves of some of the secondary effects possibly that we're concerned about, that would be great. If you can sustain oxygen on the bottom, that would be great without hurting secondary things. And being able to sustain that oxygen. The levels that were proposed, this is a real life paper. So the levels that they were trying to get in there, the technical aspect or the paper aspect of design was we're going to put X amount in there. They didn't even come close to X amount. So where is that going and how does that work is to be told. This is again so that as we move forward, so we have these diffuser systems that are in the column. Now we're talking about diffuser systems that are sending oxygen and moving water on the surface. Fountains, okay. Again, idea is takes the water, throws it up into the air, aerates it, lands back down, and brings oxygen into the lake system. Okay. Efficient, not as efficient as compressed air and things like that, but it's moving the water. You're moving millions of gallons of water per day with a fountain. Okay, so based on your size of your water body, you size it. If you're technically looking for moving water, okay, you need to size it to the size of the water body and the volume. A lot of times it's strictly an aesthetic value. Okay, so when I design a system, I'm always talking to the client like, listen, I know you want a fountain, but you need to move. There's no reason to put a 1 horse in this 3-acre pond, and it's going to look like a shower head. Not really what you want, and you're just wasting energy. But let's help the pond out. So designing it the right way is the way to do it. So you'll be able to add that oxygen in the system, move the water. It reduces algal growth, doesn't do anything to plants. Okay, it helps move oxygen through it, and a lot of times it'll help with stagnation in midsummer. Okay, you can put this in coves in large lakes. Erskine Lake uses circulators. Okay, anybody from Erskine here yet? No, so they got circulators in there. Cupsaw's got circulators. Parsippany has circulators. White Meadow's got circulators. You know, been installing these things for years and they work. So again, they're not just pretty. They're you know, they do move water. That's actually in Denville, New Jersey. That image. So then we're going to talk about moving water. This is megalith. That's how you move water if you want to really move water without getting things going. So a 3 horsepower unit is moving 1.5 million gallons. It's a lot of water. Okay? There's roughly 360,000 gallons in an acre foot of water. So you know you're moving some good water with these. They move a lot of water. Okay, high volume, obviously. They're moving it so this one is is shooting it up and just boiling over a lot of water. This unit takes the motor and points it on the horizontal, parallel with the surface of the water. So it's basically taking like a fire hose. And once you move water, okay, it tends to continue to move. It does not want to really slow down. You know, you start up a boat, hit it real quick, and you'll see your current go all the way out. It keeps going, keeps going. So once you move that, you're able to get some circulation going. Okay. Again, a lot of people use these. You'll get an influence. You'll have a unit sitting in this corner, and through the doors and past the doors, you're getting water movement. So easily past that distance. Yes.
I just want to share with everyone, right now they've upgraded their system, so I have one of those for sale, secondhand. So just reach out to me, you know, and give it to you for a good price.
Which one?
That circulator up in the left-hand corner there.
This
That
one.
one?
Yeah.
This one is this one.
Right.
Okay,
So we
so
have
it's
a subsurface one.
Yep.
So I have one for sale, secondhand. I'll give it to you for a good price.
You going with the control panel?
No.
manager.
No, it doesn't.
Wow.
So you're stuck with the motor. But again, there's different dynamics. Like this one floats on the surface horizontally, and then they also have this same unit sits on the bottom. Okay, you don't want that because of that muck issue. It just keeps settling down and you kick it on, and it's mud fest whenever you deal with it. So again, with these higher volume units, with an ornamental fountain, okay, just understand you're moving a ton of water, but to create that spray pattern, they change the head on it, and it becomes more like a shower head. And you know hardness in the water, if you guys have hard water at your house or you have anything that clogs it, all of a sudden so by August, sometimes you might have like shooting crooked sideways and you got to go out. So there is a maintenance issue to it, okay? Once you get to these guys, there's a very limited maintenance issue because it's just a giant throat with an impeller that throws this water up. So high volume, really good oxygen exchange, less clogging, and it moves water. So most people go, okay, where can I use it? And again, that's in roped areas, in dock areas. I use them a lot in that situation. From a safety standpoint, obviously you're not putting it in the middle of the swim lane area because it's what we call an attractive nuisance. Okay, so you set it off to the side, you put it on timers, you let the unit run. I would definitely let it run in the morning before you have your beach test, so you can flush that water and get, you know, or if the lifeguards get there and they take the broom, if you're lucky enough to have a lifeguard that actually will do something, sit on their phone, but actually, you know, rake off the poops off the swim docks or in the beach area. You get that flushing, you get that out of there, and you know, not only is it healthier for the lake, it's healthier for the swimmers, and you're getting interchange. You're clearing that water out, and you're able to now use your water body, and your kids aren't drinking cruddy water, and you're failing. That is pretty much it on aeration. So this again, circulator mixers, we have fountains, and then we have our diffuser aeration system, which we spoke about the two, nano and, standard. Yes.
The lake bed diffuser for aeration.
Yep.
Ours is linked with the Allen injection system. Does that offset the issue you were talking about when it pushes up the muck
The,
and reduces the phosphorus? Having the Allen with the aeration, does that offset the?
not really. So I didn't want
You
to.
should still keep it off the lake bed if you can.
Yeah, if you could, I would, okay? Just so you're not dealing with that sediment issue of drawing in. Eventually they will settle and find their spot, okay? Those that have them know in the springtime when they turn them on, you see that over the winter they kind of cover themselves, and if you stood over a diffuser head, you'd see it bubble up, and you'd see the sediment kicking up. Again, there's microscopic release as well. So you may be sitting down there with your diffuser head on the sediment level. You may be getting that phosphorus and nitrogen, during mid-season, running itself, getting drawn up through the circulation pattern that you want to happen, but now you're releasing it and bringing it back up into the column. So again, pro and con to everything. Aeration is a very good thing to have. Just understand, every time you see this, look at this. This is an internet photo. This is right out of the catalog. It's always on sand. It's always from Florida. There's never muck. You put that and this thing settles right down, so they have these extensions. This is weighted. This feels like a dumbbell. So you want to get that off the bottom as kind of as best you can. You want oxygen down there, so it's kind of like, are you feeding yourself in that position? But no, you also just don't want to also be kicking that material up. And once that once you get water movement, it tends to want to keep moving. So that's the beauty of aeration and diffuser systems. And it's all integrated. Understand, none of these technologies, nutrient inactivation, aeration, movement, nanobubbles, herbicides, we live and work in a complex situation, very, very complex. And it changes seasonally, it changes daily, and it changes over decades. And our technology is changing. So how we deal with it, what works for you may not work for another individual, or it may work for, diffusers. Cup saw works great until sometimes we turn it off in the middle of summer, towards the end of summer, just to kind of slow that bloom down, because we notice that it's kicking it up. Something's going on there. So, it's good to use it, but just understand it's not just turn the switch off and walk away. There's some technologies that you need to always keep an eye on. Yes?
So the nanobubbles aeration systems are clearly a significant investment, and one that we've talked about a lot. But I'm gathering today that there's still a lot of major concerns, and that perhaps technology hasn't caught up to the nanobubble systems. Is there one that you would recommend looking at, or is this something that you would wait a couple of years to see how the other zooplanktons and
Right.
Like, it sounds to me like the verdict is still out on those major systems, and that perhaps before you invest in something, where do you stand on that?
My professional opinion, right now in the lake industry,
Yes.
okay, it's brand new. It's new. Okay. They use it in scrubbing factors in reservoirs.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
In reservoirs, in drinking water reservoirs, or in waste treatment plants, that technology is out there. Okay, they don't care about the zooplankton, the invertebrates.
Right, they want-
Really, they're just clean water. Just give me, In our lake industry, in our backyards, we have all these other critters, or these other parameters that we do have to address, and I haven't seen the data or the actual application working as well. I've seen that one application in Massachusetts did not work as well at all like they thought it was going to work.
And how far along do you think we are in that technology, or you just don't know?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how long it is. I mean, the paper from NOMS, so NOMS is going to be the international conference that we have. There's a paper being presented on nanobubbles. Again, what does, that first paper that we sat with, 7 years ago, the first, immediately brought up questions like, wait a second, you're oxidizing it. How do we stop oxidizing even the positive things that we want? And they really don't have that answer yet. So And it's an aggressive oxidizer. And it shifts the pH too, so there's like, well, what happens to the pH? So you're, a lot of, for me, there's, questions. Yes?
If we have all the muck, and would the circulation mixer add a significant amount of oxygen to the bottom of the lake, or would it never get there?
It will add oxygen, but if you're trying to manage like deep sediment, there's really, besides, there's bacterias that you can apply to chew up the bottom, okay? You really want to try to get the oxygen, like a diffuser down there, and get it down there. Again, you may be adding oxygen down to the bottom. You just might have to shut it off for a couple weeks and wait a moment and then turn it back on. I mean, I had a client where they had a diffuser system set in there, and it was notorious. They turned it on in May, and the lake just turned pea soup. Early season, you're like, how is this like getting green like right now? And that's what was happening. They were just sitting in the system, a little body of water, 12-acre lake in Passaic County. We finally got them, we got to be patient on this and plan and get the system in there. So, and so the other comment that just brought up to me. So on these diffuser systems, when you're moving the product, okay, and that goes back to the alum question. So you want movement. The best way alum in these conventional nutrient inactivations work is the best is to have water movement. Okay? That water movement creates a better flock and better contact. So you're limited in where you are because it's coming out of the diffuser head and it's coming out with the bubbles, and that's the whole idea. You're getting that movement. Doing alum treatments without an aeration system is still okay. Okay, there's lakes here like Mohawk and White Meadow where they're pumping it in nonstop, but they're pumping it in like a very small rate, drip, 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 constantly. Where if we were going to do, like we work up a cups or we do some nutrient inactivation, we go across the body, moving that boat and getting that boat behind there so you can get that pack or alum or nutrient inactivation, whatever you can do, moving, that gets better contact time, and you're going to get a better result to get that kind of flushing through. So movement helps, and this helps consistently.
I just want to add that in White Meadow Lake, and I believe Lake Mohawk also, we have parallel systems where we're dripping the alum above the diffuser head of air bubbles.
Like that, and then letting it ride up. So the whole function is to use that column of air and get it to move. So, any other questions on aeration? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to get oxygen to the sediment, right? So we don't get the phosphorus. How close to the sediment does that diffuse?
Correct. The idea is to get oxygen through the column and get water movement, but yeah, the other idea is to get that cold water to bring down some of that oxygen down there. How close? Again, how much muck do you have on the bottom? Like if that diffuser head is settling down into the muck, then I would be like, raise it up. I mean, there's not a criteria, not a number, there's not industry standard that says, hey, you want to be 6 inches above the muck, okay? Because everybody's material is a little bit different wherever it's settling. You just want to be aware that when that diffuser is down there, it may be doing that constantly and settling in your silt layer before it hits enough hard material that it doesn't want to travel anymore, and then running. So Tom, there's not a definitive number.
Ours is in the muck, so it doesn't
Yeah,
matter anyway.
yeah. Again, most people's are in the muck. Just realize that sometimes that when they're in the muck, it has that potential to do that. Yes.
Our lake is long and narrow, very shallow at one end and deep at the other. How do you figure the optimum place for this kind of system?
You'll base it on the volume. So and the volume of the water, okay, and what you're trying to achieve. So the design will be on the size of your lake, and then on the volume in the depth from top to bottom. Okay, as you move down your lake system, okay, basically it's 2 to 3 diffuser heads typically, per acre. But that's not, as you move forward on bigger water bodies, that changes. Okay, so if you're in a pond okay? 1 to 2 to 3 on a 1 acre pond is the way to go. If you move up into bigger lake systems, into a 20 acre lake, you're not having, you know, that many diffuser heads out there. Okay, because you're getting more in the lake system just by being bigger. Does that kind of make sense? So it's a little bit more dynamic. Sabina can probably.
I'll offer a little bit of insight to that one too, though. So the deeper you go with these diffusers, the cone of influence is going to be greater, right? Because your air is going to be traveling horizontally with the greater depth. But also, from everything that I've read and then also from consultants, you really want to get your circulation in the deeper part, because that's where you're going to go anoxic in midsummer, and that's when you're going to have phosphorus release in those anoxic conditions. So if you can avoid that anoxic condition in the deeper part of the lake, you'll be overall better. So I would, if I'm looking at a system, I'm putting my aeration in deeper sections and not in the shallow sections.
You start in that deeper water. So basically, shallow water in the summertime is pretty much consistent all the way through.
Right.
You know, 6 to 8 feet. You know, you'll feel that little coldness on your toes, but typically it's kind of average in that. Once you hit about 6 feet to 8 feet, then things start to change. You may get a nice thermocline in those deep waters, and that's what, like Sabina was saying, that you want to get that water movement and break that thermocline and get some oxygen down there so that you can move that. Anyone else? All righty.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your time.